Check.
Testing.
This thing on? Welcome to the Clear Coat Podcast. I'm your host, Will Woodrow. This is Perry Stevens, our producer over here on the ones and twos with our guest for episode 2, Mary Morgan.
Thanks for having me.
Mary Morgan. We were just talking about, well, first of all, nobody probably knows the insider secret here that you and I have been partners in crime for a long time now, and
Crime or two.
We've done a lot of shows together. Been through a lot of. We've had a lot of cat fights over.
Yeah. We've been married and divorced like 20 times over the last 10 years or so, without actually doing the whole legal marriage or divorce part, but just the pain.
It's been interesting. I get bored easy, I guess. So
no, I mean, you and I have a way of we're great friends, but we also can challenge each other, but we work well together when it comes to collaboration and putting on what we think is a great visual art show and an event for the community. We work well together, I think, on that.
We've had a really solid working relationship, and actually, so I don't think you follow this story the same way that I do, but I actually met you when Liz had lizards.
Yep.
And you were head of advertising and marketing for Nuvo, right?
Right. For Nuvo, if people don't know what Nuvo...
For you kids...
For the kids in the audience.
Nuvo was a local magazine for 150 years.
It felt like it, but it had about a 30-year run. It was the free kind of arts and entertainment.
Rag.
Yeah, you'd find it on the street corners. There papers like this, there were all over the country at the time, but we were independent here. And so we really kind of had a pulse on what was happening in the city. Live music was a big part of things we covered. And Liz owned Lizards, which was a live music venue. You guys had a band together.
I think you told me that you got tired of hearing my name in the Nuvo all the time, actually, at one point.
When we started working together in visual arts many years later after the Nuvo and music days, I told you, I said, you have no idea how many times I have typed the word Will Woodrow project into my computer over the years without really ever... Yeah, it's just funny how our worlds were circling, but we didn't really connect until...
Actually, if I remember this correctly, I think you told me, and this was several years later, but that you didn't like me.
I did not say that.
Something like that.
I said that your reputation preceded you, and that I had heard that you can be fun to work with. Challenging.
That's a nice way to put it.
And if you remember, you guys were killing it with bringing in live bands back then from all over, but we had to list like 5 or 6 bands on each night in the ad.
Oh, yeah.
And the ad was really small, and I was constantly like, there's too much information in these ads. You can't read it. And so I think I might have said something about, we've got to redesign this ad.
You did.
And you were designing them.
No, and I was designing the ads, and I think I told you that that stuck with me still does, that certain fonts stand out better in certain marketing. For instance, the lettering on this stuff is pretty basic because that's the stuff that stands out, especially in small print. And your experience in advertising and marketing, I think it pissed me off because I had to redo it at the time, but I've done everything that way ever since.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
but anyway, you told me you didn't like me, and then
I said
we fast forward.
I never said I didn't like you.
Fast forward several
years. It was later
years.
I told you I didn't like you when I got to know you.
Several years later, I was doing a lot of art shows around the country, and I think I had just gotten back from New York or something.
Yep.
Which, side trip, just because people don't know what just happened, but Roddy Wilderman was just here outside the studio dropping off a sculpture that I had at a show in New York the last time I was there a few months back or whatever, that Mary actually owns.
Yep.
And so it was good timing. He was passing through on his way to Chicago and dropped that sculpture off.
I'm excited.
And so now we got to get it over to your house
I
instead.
can't wait. I'm excited. It'll be the first time it's been in the house since I purchased it. But since I purchased it, the gallery's like, "Can we have it?" And I was like, "Send it to the gallery. It's fine." So it's always good to do that with art because you never know what it can generate.
Yeah, well, and resale value of
Sure.
art. Like,
Sure.
so if you bought a sculpture and then there's an opportunity to resell it to
Good
somebody
investment.
else, and we'll get into that in a minute. As an art pimp,
Art pimp. I like that.
we've done that a few times. But so fast forward a few years, and I was coming back from probably New York or something, and I think you had hit me up on Messenger or something, and you had just started. Is this right after you left Nouveau? That you
No,
went to-
I had been away from Nouveau for about 5 or 6 years when I landed as a director of an art gallery downtown Indianapolis, and I found myself in this new position, and was excited because I knew who you were through music, and then all of a sudden I start to see you on social media doing this really cool.
like, fuck, I hate that
Nostalgic
guy, but
kind
he's
of
doing good now.
I never said that. What I said was, I know that guy, and he's talented, and I'm going to reach out to him. And you were one of the first shows that I booked for the gallery when I was the director. It didn't happen for several months later, but yeah, it was that's when we really kind of started working together more one on one at that point. I saw you doing some great stuff. It was stuff that I had not seen in this market at all, and so it was really fun to kind of introduce the Indianapolis art market to something they really weren't paying attention to, a type of medium. And so yeah, we had a couple solo shows with you at the gallery.
Yeah, it started with a solo show, and actually, Gallery 42 was where you're at. But Bill came by my studio and,
The owner of
in
Gallery
good faith,
42.
bought some art off of my walls.
Yep.
And then
That's what I told him on the way over there. We're driving. I was like, the best way to really support artists is to invest in them.
You know how to get in his pants, give him $1.
That's right. Buy it off his wall.
But so then, fast forward a few months, we did a solo show, and then we were conjoined at the hip after that for a while.
Pretty much. Then you really got demanding. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not untrue.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like that's one area that like really kind of works for us because you push me, I push you, and I think that together doing your first solo show, I think we realized that like the collaboration was pretty great. We put together a great show. We were excited to work together, and with your travels that you had been doing all over the country, you had access to some artists nationally and some internationally that you introduced me to, which was great. That's one great thing about when you do collaborate with people and
Networking in general.
and then we started the brainchild of a group show, bringing artists from all over the country into Indianapolis, and adding local artists to the bill so that you introduce art collectors to people they haven't seen, artists they haven't seen, and it allows local artists to network and collaborate with artists that they haven't met before. And it was contemporary, which was kind of a more modern show than, I don't want to say than the Indianapolis market has had, because we've got some great stuff going on here, but it was a show that really we had not seen put together in that way. So we launched Madness, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, we did 2 of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great networking tool. Like, I think I ended up doing so much travel because I would go somewhere, meet other artists. They'd say, hey, your shit's cool.
Yep.
Vice versa. Let's do a show together. Bring them here.
Yep.
They bring me to a show that they're doing. And that's really kind of how I survived in the art circuit there for a while. Just meeting people, networking with them. And then I thought it would be really cool to bring all of the people that I've been networking with here. But you brought some people, I brought some people. We kind of met in the middle on that.
Yep.
And, that was crazy shows that we were doing. Like 30 artists from all over the country. Do we have any international people on those? I don't remember.
I don't think on the first one.
But so,
But that led you guys to Spain eventually.
oh yeah, because you brought in Kyle,
Hmm.
which I want to have him on at some point. But you brought in Kyle, and
Kyle Williams Harper.
then Kyle William Harper, shout out, and then he brought me out to L.A. And then I got in a couple galleries out in L.A. and
Yep.
did a couple shows there, and stayed with him while I was out there. And then we went to Spain together last year.
Yeah.
Did a show there. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
you know.
it's great to see how, and I think that's been kind of my place a little bit in the arts and culture, I guess, arena in locally here in Indianapolis is, I kind of like to find ways to bring people together, find opportunities, bright minds together is something that just really excites me. I often say that I'm not the talent. I feel like we're all artists in some way, but I'm not a professional artist. I'm not a
Oh, I've
musician.
got some of your art actually.
Oh, yes. Well, it's probably very valuable. Wait till I die. And this is going to be bad. But, I just feel like I like to find areas to cultivate opportunities for people. And I don't know. It's just every few months or 6 months or so, I start getting itchy to do something.
Yeah,
That
unfortunately,
gets
like
the
the
community
timing
going.
of us doing another Madness show this year isn't going to work out with the stuff you have going on, and
Yeah.
vice versa. A lot of transitions been happening in my life as well, and so it's just not going to work out. But let's talk about that for a minute because and I know the inner workings, like intimately the headaches and everything associated with putting on like a multi-artist show from start to finish.
Sure.
But these people don't know, and that's part of what I like to do on this podcast is kind of, show the inside inner workings of the arts and the industry. So walk people through what it takes from start to finish to do something like curating a multi-artist show.
Okay. Well, and every show's different. So, my way of doing it may not be the way other curators do it. And depending on the topic of the show, it could be different. But, it ultimately starts with an idea. Okay, first of all, let's start with the end experience. When a patron comes into an art gallery or to an art exhibition, you come in and you see works available on the walls or in the room, and you see the artist's name, you see the wall plaque, how much what the size, those are the prices, the medium. And so what you're experiencing is the end result of all the work before that. But to make those empty walls full, which, by the way, a room of empty walls is exciting for a curator. You're going to a gallery and that's completely empty, and it's like and then you do your work. But I'll try to wrap this up quickly. So, like for instance, like with Madness, let's give that example. It started with an idea. It started with a concept with the two of us as co-curators.
A theme.
A theme. What kind of theme do we want to do?
March Madness is in town.
Yep. We
Let's
came up with Madness.
do it in March.
Madness was kind of a theme to be pretty broad. We didn't want to limit our artists. We wanted them to either pick from existing inventory they already had or create something that went along with the theme, which, Madness is pretty broad. It's however you interpret that. So
Yeah, well, you're talking about the inside of the brains of artists. So
Of
Madness
artists.
is an easy theme to kind of.
yeah, and we weren't focused on basketball. It was just in our city in Indianapolis, Indiana. March Madness is a big deal, and we had the first show in March. So then it starts with collaborating, and we start putting together a list of artists that we are interested in. You put together a list. I put together a list. We start researching.
We argue about it.
We argue about
Cross
it. We
a few
look.
off.
We look at their bios. We look at their Instagrams. We look at
The
how
art-
active they are.
The art that they have that we may or may not be interested that might fit the theme
Exactly.
of the show.
We might even handpick some pieces. We may reach out to an artist and say, hey, we've looked at your work. We really like this collection. Do you have any works available in that kind of genre? And it can be a tough process because you only have so many spots. I might feel very passionate about an artist that I want in the show, and you may have conflicting opinions and vice versa. So it is truly a give and take and a battle. It's like a bracket down to the end, and then we build the bill basically of the show. And then we do the reach out to the artist. There's other details on how much you want me to get into as far as the business aspect of the gallery.
No, yeah, we'll just do a quick synopsis of the whole thing. But then you reach out to artists, and some artists, as you know, are great in their basement. And then some of them are meant to go out and do the thing and
Right.
push themselves
Yes.
and try to have some success in the arts. And that's not to say that the work isn't good. It's to say that some people don't care about doing shows. Some people, their goals aren't to go out and do multi-artist shows or be successful or have a art dealer or,
Sure.
some people do it for a hobby. Some people do it for therapy. Some people do it for a release. Some people are clinically insane and do it because there's nothing else to do.
And some artists, depending on where they are in their careers, they may not even see the value of being in a group show because maybe they're already selling art off the easel, and they're at that level of their career where collectors come to them, and those kind of folks, completely understandable. But those are also the folks that we really want one of those in the show.
Sure.
Because for our show, they can be a draw. And so, we maybe do some negotiating with a high-end artist, which we did for that show, that really, he questioned, why should I come to Indy? Why should I do the show? What's in it for me? And we really, really had to push with that particular artist to convince him the benefits of being in the show.
I don't know which one you're talking about, but I can guess at a few of them that some people don't need to do
Exactly.
Indiana.
Exactly.
For one thing, and then don't need to be in a multi-artist show, and that's fun. And I've made relationships have formed from just talking to some of these people and them saying, I don't really, there's no benefit in it for me, but let's stay in touch and talk about,
Absolutely.
future things or whatever. And some people I've tried to offer a show to that, I'm doing it just out of like respect and loyalty and thanks for helping me out with something, and they don't want it or need it.
Sure.
So we did some of that, and but so then there's going through the list and getting a list of artists together that have agreed to do the show. And of course you try to pick people also. It's kind of like playing in a band. You want to play with other bands that are going to promote themselves.
Absolutely.
Bands that are working, that are have a social media presence, that are doing something current that, it's because, let's face it, at the end of the day, you're only as funky as your last cut.
Well, and for someone like me, even though I do this because I love it, at the end of the day, it is a business. And the purpose of an exhibition is not only to introduce people to art, and which has so many benefits, but for the artist and for the gallery who's running the show, you want to sell the art. And in order to be successful, especially in today's art market as an emerging artist, you have to be a self-promoter, or you have to have somebody promoting you.
You have to be all the things.
You have to be all the things. So you may be a masterful artist that has artwork that just is mind-blowing, but you never post on social media.
Well, or you have to have representation. You have to
Right.
get to a certain point that you have representation, or you have to do everything yourself until you get that representation.
And so it is a factor when we were going through our list on who we're going to pick. We would evaluate, their work, their history, where they are in their stage of their career, their inventory, and their price range. Is this price range what our market needs to do? And what kind of following do they have and presence on social media, whether they're doing it or they're hiring an agent? That is important.
Sure. Do they push themselves? I mean, and also to your point, you can't, it doesn't make any sense, not to shit on, people that are doing vendor space or whatever, but if you're selling stuff for $20 a piece or whatever at a vendor space, prints or whatever, and then you've got these other artists that, their lowest piece of work is $5,000.
Right.
There has to be somewhere between, we're taking artists for this show that sell their work starting at $1,000.
Yep.
and we're cutting it off at, $25,000.
Yep.
And then you have to curate the show based off of kind of a market that fits that. Then you have to have collectors that are in that range. So,
Right.
if you're doing a show that is lower budget show, let's say, you're catering to a different demographic than.
Yeah, I mean, a new collector, a new collector. I don't want to put an age on it, but often, it is the young professionals that stop buying Hobby Lobby and Walmart, stuff, and then they start going to art fairs, they start getting out, and they start really understanding the value of original pieces. A new collector, their budget might be a couple $100. That couple $100 painting that they buy is going to mean everything to them because it is expensive to them. It's original and they have an emotional attachment to it. And it's a pride thing. As they grow in their collector years, hopefully they begin to become more affluent and their tastes grow and then their investment and their collection grows. And then, of course, you always have the more mature collector that can come in and look at a $25,000 piece, either fall in love with it, see it as an investment, whatever reason that they may be purchasing art at that level.
Everybody collects for different reasons too, though, and like I think there's a lot of younger people, for instance, that are collecting because they it's like a stock to them. You buy and sell and trade and get into collecting as an income generator, and I think that there's a lot more younger people that are buying and selling art now because it's an investment.
I agree.
And then there's people that collect art because they like to hang it on the walls just because they are in love with the piece, right? So,
for sure.
So I mean, there's different types of collectors, but so let's fast forward a little bit. We've got an idea. We've got some artists corralled.
Yep.
Which is in and of itself like herding wet cats.
Because artists are unique folks, and
cosmic, really.
Some can be on top of their game and operate like a business, and others just need a little bit more hand holding. But when you're in this industry and you're in a position like I am, you expect that. So you have some patience. And I thrive with creative people most of the time. Most of the time. But, one thing to consider for these artists, especially any artist that is sending work to a gallery or an exhibition or a show out of their hometown, right off the bat, unless that gallery or that show is paying the artist to ship all their things there, which only happens at an elevated level of your career. As an emerging artist, which most are, or growing artist, you are out of pocket for just about all your expenses.
You got a logistic nightmare.
Yeah. So, we call out to an artist in California, say, hey, we'd like to have you in a show. Here's the pieces we'd like. Would you like to send them? That artist is not only sending the artwork out, which means they're sending it out to be sold, so hopefully it sells. But then also, they're packaging it. They're out of pocket to send it to me. Then we do the logistic nightmare of delivery day, receiving all these artworks, unpacking it, making sure nothing's damaged, making sure everything's there. We'll have a couple of days of all these pieces coming in.
Nothing's ever on time.
We're looking for tracking numbers. We're calling people back because we have a show opening. Everything's on a schedule. Things will arrive on Monday. The show opens on Friday, as an example. So once we get those things open, then we're just kicking butt to get the things on the wall and curate. And that's the fun part and also the challenging part when you have co-curators. I should go there, I should not go there, go higher, lower, whatever. But ultimately, that's what makes our collaboration so great is how painful the few days might be before the show opens to get it there. We always feel like we did a good job in hanging it and it looks right. And we pushed ourselves, both of us, to get the best looking show.
I mean, you're spent after a couple days of doing it. I mean, once the art arrives and then you are able to start putting things in play, like you're curating up to the wire all the way up to like the minute the show opens.
And people don't think about how physical the actual job is.
Yeah, up and down the ladders,
the stairs,
changing the
lighting, unboxing,
hanging stuff, packaging, unpackaging. Some work is really heavy, moving pedestals all over the place.
Yep.
Up and down stairs. I mean, plugging stuff in, getting it
we had
set
a
up.
4-story gallery at Gallery 42.
And then changing it all over and over and over and over and over. Actually, you and I will do a show, and then we'll leave for the night, and like I'll come in the next day, and everything will not be where we left it from the night before because
I had the keys to the place.
Yeah. So we've had our curating differences, but and I think that probably if there's an area of my life where I'm controlling, it's in my artistic, creative endeavors.
Yeah.
And I think that, if you have a lot of heart in it and you really care about the aesthetic of everything, it's easy to kind of run high temperature with each other on, how things are going with that because you have your ideas, I have mine. But at the end of the day, it always comes together to an agreeable point. It's like any painting, right? Any artist that paints something, it's finished when they walk away from it and say that it's finished.
Right.
Because you could potentially curate a show into the abyss of madness.
You definitely could.
So then you hang the show.
You've
got your marketing.
Yeah, all along the way, and in addition to, from the moment that we say, okay, here's who's in the show, and we're contacting artists to say when their things need to get here, that's when all the marketing starts. You have a full-on marketing campaign around it to promote the show, the date, the opening, the dates it's running, the artists that are in the show, everything from print to social to digital, outside. I mean, there's marketing everywhere, and then there's PR push. Then you have to get with the
get
press
on the news.
Folks. You try to get some coverage from your press locally. We're fortunate to get some really good coverage for both our Madness shows, which brought in new people we'd never seen, which is great. So right before the show opening, then you're doing, like you and I were doing a press circuit. So we were out doing shows, trying to pull artists in to our press opportunities so they get exposure. Then you have an opening, and then there's a party. So you have the logistics of actually throwing an event between DJs and food, music, and entertainment, and hosting the exhibit and hosting all the artists. That's when the magic really comes.
So you have to have, not only, like if you're working out of a gallery, you not only have to have a client list of potential collectors that the gallery has to have, but the artists in the show, you also hope that they're going to pull their weight to bring out their collectors, not just to pick up a piece of their work, but to cross-pollinate with the other artists so that there's a crowd in general, first of all, and then you can give the exposure to everybody. So getting 200 people in a room for a show is great, but getting 200 collectors in a room
is different.
For a show is another story.
I mean, anybody that's in the art game will say, I mean, this is not an easy game. It's not an easy game.
The hardest ever.
And collectors are the biggest challenge of building a strong collector list. It takes years. I mean, it literally takes years, and I would have to say, there's someone in the market that I really admire. She had a gallery at the Conrad there for a while. She's closing it here recently, Longshore. But
they're closing Longshore.
They are, that location. But she's been in the game for 25, 30 years, and when I asked, what's the magic? And the best advice that she gave me was, there is no way to fast forward this. I mean, in order to build just like an artist, the same thing with a curator or a gallery director or an art consultant, it takes relationships, it takes years. You have to continue to cultivate those. You have to stay in front of collectors. You have to follow up with collectors. So we might open a show, let's say we have 200 people come through the door, you know, we have to make sure that we're doing our best to capture who those people are. We have to do follow-ups. We have to continue the marketing that once the show's opened, that they can still come see the show until the end, and try to get some private viewings and some more people in to see the collection. You know,
But then you have to nurture those relationships for years to keep, like what you're saying about loan sharps is like, it's, you know, it's fine to put on a show, but those collectors and things that they collect, your collection of collectors,
yeah.
takes a long time.
And the truth is,
it takes doing all of the work.
The truth is that when you're at that high end gallery level, you know, potentially the person running that gallery already has a book of collectors that the show could be sold before even shows.
Yeah.
You know, the work can be done. So all shows are different. You know,
that's how that place was in LA that I did, where, you know, they've sold out work before the show even opens.
Absolutely. And sometimes it is truly just to show the work before it goes into the private collections of people who bought them. And so what we're talking about with like our Madness show, that is, you know, a particular emerging artist, you know, collection of artists coming together to do a show. That's an example. It would look totally different for an artist who is already very established in their career, already successful, doing a show in a major market like Chicago, New York, LA, Miami. Like, you know, those shows would look, and how you put those together would look totally different than what you and I are talking about.
Yeah, for sure. And your name and reputation carries a lot of weight, you know, and so just in the art world in general, I mean, anybody who's got a successful career carries a lot of its own weight, but it's earned one person at a time, just like anything that we do. But yeah, what we're talking about is just pure, you know, madness, whimsical, pulling all this stuff together, and it is totally different than somebody who's got their grind together in a certain direction that is completely a different direction than what we're doing. And I've seen a lot of shows that are all over the place, from group shows, stylistically from one to the next. And, you know, like for instance, there are markets that my stuff does not work in at all. Indie isn't really known as a huge, I don't want to say that it's not. Well, I don't want to say that it's not. I think that we've got all of the inner workings of art, music, culture.
Sure.
I think that compared to New York, LA, any of these meccas for, you know, like Nashville is to music, like Art Basel is to visual art, you know.
Right.
India is nowhere even on the list.
We're just not that big of a market in general, but we've
tried to. I think that was part of our sort of mission statement with doing some of the shows that we were doing.
Yeah,
was trying to bring some of that stuff.
We wanted to do what we had not seen being done to some degree. You know, and I think Indianapolis is doing a killer job right now. It's been really great to see some of the some very successful things happening here in the city when it comes to visual art. I think it's on fire more now so than it was maybe 10 years ago. But it doesn't look anything like the Chicago market or the New York market.
Well, but that's fine. We're actually a pretty big city, and you know, like Factory Arts is killing it with all of the
Stutz is back and going. I mean, you have. I mean, there's a lot. And Butter Art Fair is killing it. You know, there's just been a lot of great things going on.
One of the things I was talking to Jesse about is he was saying that the city's trying. Their focus is on like bringing in conventions and things like that, new hotels and kind of the infrastructure that they're focused on is, I think some of the arts and entertainment stuff is down the list, but that stuff brings more of the artists' opportunities to the city as well. So, you know, it's not for nothing. We're we're a diamond in the rough, like I said on with him as well. We've got a lot going for us, but we're not on the same tier as some of those other places. But I think it was important for me to try like this podcast, for instance, it's a great networking tool to try to mix with some of the movers and shakers and also gain some insight and information, and also be able to give some insight and information as to what's happening, not just with this city. I mean, there'll be guests on from everywhere, but to tie everybody together and to be doing it from here as a launching pad, I think it's always been important to me to try to network and contribute to the building of art and culture in this city.
And I've seen that out of you. I mean, I through the years, you have been putting your mark on the culture of Indianapolis, and
Starting a business and trying to hire people in the
sure,
arts and all
for
of that.
sure.
I mean, it's
And it's crazy what art, where it can take you. Like you had mentioned, we are a convention city. We're seeing more and more hotels go up. Through my work at the gallery, it led me to an opportunity that allowed me to lead the curation of the Intercontinental Hotel that went up downtown. And the amazing thing is, this hotel could have put anything in their hotel, but they specifically wanted to outfit the hotel in Indianapolis or Indiana artists the most that they could, or art that really spoke to Indiana. And the reason they wanted to do that was because they want to continue to support the artists of the community, and be a part. They live and breathe and contribute and build within this community, and it's another fiber that they want to continue to support. So, there are living artists in Indianapolis that could say their artwork is in the Intercontinental Hotel downtown, which is
shout
amazing.
out to Will Woodrow on
Shout out
that.
to Will Woodrow.
No, but I wouldn't have had that without you gaining that opportunity to go in and act as the consultant on that, which I think maybe in a roundabout way had something to do with you starting a consulting company, or no?
Yeah, it actually did. In my departure of the gallery, the hotel project came just right on the heels of that, and which led me to kind of move away from working in a gallery and just kind of doing more of my own thing. And people ask all the time, what the hell is an art consultant? And it's a very broad term. I think it can be defined by however someone defines it themselves. But for me, it truly is just trying to find opportunities to place art, find opportunities to bring collectors and artists together, find opportunity for more art to exist within our community. In our city, like many cities, but ours being a sports city and with all these conventions, one thing I have to give kudos to our Indie Arts Council and other organizations that support local arts, because they always have an visual art factor in almost any major event that comes to the city.
Well, not just, but like the airport.
Exactly.
Omar Rashawn just did a mural
He
out
sure
there,
did.
right? So I think a lot of the staple, big infrastructure staples in this city support the arts too. I mean, when you see, and we are, I guess we are a sports town, but when you see some of the murals and stuff that are up around the city,
Yeah.
it's local artists that get to do them.
Uh-huh.
See, the Arts Council has been really pivotal in making sure that that's kind of homegrown.
Absolutely. And our artists do get a lot of opportunities if they pay attention and know where to go look for them. I mean, I would encourage any up-and-coming artist, if you're not already, to subscribe to the Artist Opportunity newsletter that's at the Arts Council. Not just visual arts. There's music. If you're a musician, you're looking for an open stage, you'll find it there. I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities out there. There's a newsletter that goes out every month that lists those things. There's grants. There's sponsorships. There's group show call-outs. Like we talked about how we handpicked our group show, but I have done shows in the past where it's open. It's open. You can submit an entry. Just submit your artwork and see if you can get into the show. All those opportunities are listed there, and they do a really good job with it as well. I just think it's super important to continue to look for opportunities, and if you can't find them, to build them. And that's often what you and I have done together. If we, we'll just build our own
We talked
opportunities.
about that on the last show too. It's like, if there's not a road, make your own, because there's nothing that is gonna stop you from being able to have an art career here. Like, I've been
I agree.
asked, why don't you move to New York? Why don't you come to Chicago? Like,
Could live anywhere.
because I can. This is a great hub. For one thing, it's like right in the middle of the country, so I can just go in any direction and get to a show, and stay here, and the rent's going to be cheaper. And
Right.
but I also have roots and family and that kind of thing. But I remember being in my early 20s and signing up for like the Arts Council and that kind of thing, and just could never get I couldn't even get an email or a phone call back then,
Mm-hmm.
and I just stuck with it. And fast forward, like, I'm face to face with them and got a unanimous yes on doing
A sculpture,
bronze sculpture for the city,
which we're
much later,
working, which is coming,
which is in the works,
we're working on it.
which is through you though. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's
So that's another example. What does an art consultant do? If
a liaison.
if I find myself as a consultant in a position where I have a collector or an investor or a property that's looking to place art, you know, then I can find out what they're envisioning, find an artist that fits that. Maybe it starts with the artist and I go find the funding, but I'm kind of the middle person to try to bring those two things together, and do my best to protect everybody in the process between the artist and the client. But we do have something very exciting coming, and
Are
we'll.
we allowed to talk about it?
Well,
Or?
I don't want to get too far into it, but we'll keep everybody updated as it goes on. But it's been a work in progress now for over a year,
Yeah.
which we've learned a lot. This is our both for you and I. This is our it's one of our first major public works piece that will be a permanent piece to the city. Which I'll be so proud of you to have that permanent piece. I'm proud of myself to have a part of it, and I'm extremely thankful for the folks who are behind it, allowing us to do that. So we'll keep you posted, but we do have something really exciting coming up. But it's been a year, so we're still just kind of trucking along, but it will happen.
When I was talking to Roddy outside, too bad he couldn't stay for the podcast. By the way, Roddy, next time you're in town,
Yeah, Roddy,
need to
you
do
should have
the
stuck
podcast.
around and
It's
hung out with
bullshit.
us.
It's total bullshit. But so we were talking, and I'm like, I wanted to, back when I was younger, I wanted to get signed to a record label and tour the country. So I did that. And then I wanted to make visual art and tour the country and sell work internationally. So I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And now the opportunity to do a bronze monument in the city is right around the corner. So once that happens, then I guess I can quit.
Nope.
No,
No,
then
we'll
we'll
find
do
something else
do
to
another
do.
one, but
No, we'll go somewhere else and do another one. Yeah.
But that is the pinnacle for a sculpture artist. I mean, I don't know what else there is beyond that other than to do more of them,
Yeah.
because that's going from not selling work and struggling to get any kind of name recognition to having something like that that's a permanent, lasts for thousands of years, permanent it'll outlive me by far. But to go from that to that, and then you got to figure out like the what's next. I'm kind of in a phase of my life, I feel like, artistically, where I'm kind of in the what's next, and not putting the cart before the horse, because I have to do this to get to the next thing. But a couple of those a year wouldn't hurt my feelings at all.
No, it wouldn't at all. It wouldn't at all. But we learned so much every time we do a show, whether it be solo, group. We get a project like the hotels or other things. Like, we learn so much, and I've always said, and I think you and I always share this. Like, we're not afraid to fail, to some things, because it's always one step closer to succeeding because you learned what you've done wrong. And I think that, having that spirit of taking the shot, you have to take the shot. And there's always fear, but don't be so afraid that you don't take the shot.
Well, failure is the price of admission to success, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
And listen, and this road hasn't come without plenty of successes and failures.
bruises. Yeah.
And for sure. And in this game, I don't want to say game, but this art game that we find ourselves
This
in.
art pimp and hustle.
This art pimp. I mean, it can be temperamental and timely, and like, for instance, right now, I've been kind of out of commission for 5-6 months now with some health issues. I went to my first Friday just last Friday in like 5 months.
It's a little preoccupied Friday, but I would like to.
Yeah,
make it out.
and I was so glad that I went, of course, because it was great to see everyone. But how quickly you can feel out of touch, and how quickly progress happens.
Oh, man.
I've been sitting back watching over the last few months as I've been kind of dealing with some health issues, but seeing some of my folks that I worked so closely with just hit some home runs, succeeding, some new opportunities. Like, they never stop moving. And that is how you make progress. I might have been an art consultant with an artist, working closely, even though we're not exclusive. I don't have exclusive agreements with my artist. But, even though I might not have been pushing
The fuck?
over the last 5-6 months, they were pushing, or someone else was pushing. Yeah, you're always telling me I am your exclusive
You're
art date.
supposed to be.
Every time. Mary, sell some art.
Mary, sell some
art.
Sell some
art
damn
today.
art.
But life does that for us. It throws you some curveballs, but just on the heels of a little hiatus, you and I were just talking about when we're gonna do the next Madness show.
Yeah.
Because we're crazy.
It's gotta be.
But we will do one.
So we never did finish that, but let's move on anyway. But just to wrap all of that up, then after the show, hopefully you've sold some art, and then now hopefully you do a bunch with a lot of out of town artists. So some of them show up.
Yes.
Some of them can't, just logistically it doesn't work out, and some of them just don't want the expense of traveling, which I understand. But then you got to get it back to them after the show. And some artists are like, fuck it, just keep it. Because
it costs them money. They paid to some artists may pay to send it out here. They may fly in, have accommodations, stay for the opening, fly back, and then if the piece does not sell, they have to pay out of their pocket to have the piece sent back to them.
You know what's cool though? Just like what Roddy coming to town earlier, bringing that astronaut back from the last show that I did in New York. After the Madness shows, I have to go to New York and do a show or something, and on the way, I got to make several deliveries.
Yes.
So that's always been kind of a cool, just kind of a
and artists
community
will help
thing.
each other.
And it's much safer too.
Shipping.
Every time I ship any sculpture stuff, it gets broke.
It's terrifying.
It just
Shipping
gets
of
broke.
artwork is.
If you ship anything through UPS or FedEx, you might as well just kick it down a flight of stairs before you even bother to package it, because that's generally how stuff's going to arrive. So that's why people pay for like
Professional artwork.
art handlers,
Yeah.
or art transport, and then one of the things that's cool in that community is that traveling artists doing shows and stuff will do that and drive from one place to another. Kind of, if I'm coming through town and I know that you have some work here stored away somewhere, give some gas money or something, and I'll drop it off to you on the way. So that's been kind of nice, because it's made that art handling budget a little more friendly to be able to to do that.
Absolutely. And that it can be a factor in whether someone participates in a show, of how much it may cost them to participate if they don't sell the piece.
Yeah.
Now, fortunately at the time I was running a gallery. So, if there was an opportunity for me to hold on to a piece and keep it and see what I could do, I would do that.
Just having storage.
I couldn't keep all the pieces, and some of the pieces just didn't always match what I had coming up in the gallery, so it wouldn't make sense. I've had a couple of artists tell me just since I've gone out on my own as a consultant, just to hold on to their pieces and try to find opportunities. And I'm always looking for opportunities like that. So, but I can't store everybody's artwork either.
No, but also, I mean, there's no there's nothing like doing a show in person over like trying to sell art on the internet or having an online gallery as
Not the same.
As an art dealer trying to have an online gallery or having a physical retail space where people can come in and see the art is a different thing. And super grind, right? You tear down, you do all the curating, you set up a show, you move all the lighting, and you get it all set up, and then you got your opening, and you got all of the things, your marketing and logistics and getting people there and doing the party, and then you try to sell some art, and then you close the show a month later. And you tear it all down, and you pack it all up, and you ship back what you can, and then you start all over again.
Start again.
Yeah.
Start again.
It's a serious hustle.
It definitely is hustle. It's fun, but it's definitely a lot work. People think, oh, it must be really glamorous. It's like, because you've been there. There's many late nights, very hard work, but at the end, it can be very, very rewarding. We had a blast. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I want to do it again.
I sold a lot of art for a while there, and that totally made it all worth it. It's like,
and for you, you kind of already had a name, I think, in the city with music to some degree, but I definitely think, in addition to your national travels, and then having your first solo show at Gallery 42. I think there were some entities that started to pay attention to you a little bit more that maybe had not before.
well, like I was saying on the last show too, is that I think that, especially coming from here, I feel like you kind of have to go away and gain some level of success for people to pay attention to you here. And that's not true for everybody. I'm sure there's plenty of other artists that have just built it from the ground up that have done pretty well. But most of the artists that I know, like visual artists, most of the visual artists that I know that have been successful, they go and do the circuit and they gain the experience and they gain the network and they travel, Some of the people, like I was going to ask you, kind of top 10 or top 5, or just pick out of your hat a few names that you like locally that might be good guests for the show. But we know a lot of the same people, and a lot of those people have some level of success because they go other places and
Sure.
Put in the work.
Sure. And I don't want to throw anybody's name out in case they tell you no when you ask them to be on. I'm just kidding. They wouldn't say no. But no, we definitely have talked about some folks that I think would be great for the show. And I think you're right. I think, and it depends on what they're doing too. There is just there's some artwork that may not resonate in this market, but you take this artwork and you put it in LA. Or you put it in Miami or Chicago, and it has an audience that we just simply don't have enough of here for that artist to really see a lot of sales of their art. But that same piece, without changing it at all, could have a total different response in a different market.
Or just even next week, it could be popular somewhere
totally
down
changes.
The street from where it was last week.
Yep.
I've got a whole basement full of projects that are, in my opinion, really good works that I guess I want to just focus on the new all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's out of sight, out of mind for me, but some stuff that's still really good that if I were to recirculate in another market or try again in a different
audience
show,
or a more targeted audience, some of your nostalgic work probably does require
give it a
more
new life,
targeted approach. Yeah,
and I know, and I don't want to say that certain areas just aren't my market, but I know that there are certain gallery shows that I've done where I'm just not resonating with the demographic there.
right.
Maybe it's just the area that it's in and the culture of what they like there, or maybe I'm just light years ahead of my time and they haven't caught up yet.
You could be,
or I suck. I don't know. But
maybe you suck a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's definitely not it. But it depends on the collector base. I mean, if this gallery is more successful and the more abstract artwork,
or what's hot right now.
Yeah.
It could be a different thing. For instance, there's a gallery where I was fortunate to do some shows in Connecticut. And they have their local favorites. And they have kind of what's selling in that area. I didn't really have any success with my sales there, but, I was able to expose my stuff to that audience. If I were to go back and do another show there, I would try to do something that I know would work better for that market.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I guess there's always kind of that option, depending on some people. Like every artist has a different kind of road that they take. Me, I'm trying to do it for a living, so I'm trying to figure out what sells. Sometimes, though, the shit that I make, like a fetus attached to a TV,
right,
with a freaking weird ass movie playing on the screen inside of the TV. I didn't even put a price tag on it because I had no intentions of ever selling that. I made it for me as a statement piece. Sold right away. And then I'll make something that I'm trying to put out a piece for sale. It's the same thing with music. Like if you're making music for, just for the art of it, you'll probably do better than if you're trying to
without a doubt
polish.
I think it can be a difficult and slippery slope for an artist to go down the road of really trying to produce what's selling, because you will get so far, you could easily get so far outside of your lane and what really inspires you, that it's so important for an artist, whether it's musical, visual art, or whatever kind of art you make, cooking, whatever, that you truly are passionate about what you're doing. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And I have seen a lot of very talented visual artists struggle to get their careers off the ground, and they'll start taking, say, commissions. There's nothing wrong with commissions. A commission is a collector saying, "Oh, I love your artwork. Will you do this portrait of my grandmother?" Okay. Now, maybe you don't even do portraits. Maybe you don't really want to do a portrait of grandma. But you're a young artist, you're desperate, and you're happy to have the work. And so next thing you know, you say yes to a commission, and you say next to the next commission. And next thing you know,
you're working at a nursing home because all you do is grandmas.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily, and it can suck your soul and dim your light. And it's very important not to do that. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a working artist, producing work for money that people want if you truly have joy in what you're producing.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with doing commissions, even commissions that you may not totally love what you're doing. But, if it's on the path to a good collector, or you're trying to give somebody something special. I know artists that won't even do a commission at all. Absolutely not. Because they do not want to be told in any way how to create their art.
Because they have a trust fund and they don't have to.
And maybe not, but then as a consultant, as the middle person, it can be a really tricky position. And you've been in it with me before. My client, who is the person who is purchasing the artwork, has what they think is a very specific thing in mind.
Wants what they want.
And I'm trying to convey that to you as the artist. Mm-hmm. You hear what I say. Well, now that's down the line. And you're no mind reader, and you're trying to produce what the client wants. And then that collaboration can be a beautiful collaboration sometimes. Sometimes it can be difficult. You may be producing something that the collector is just not loving, so they keep going back and forth. And then at some point, it's just like, trying to produce what the client
Final
wants.
edit 934.
And you've lost yourself in there a little bit.
Yeah.
But so, as a consultant, you're always trying to walk those middle lines and trying to keep everybody happy and getting what they want. My job is to make the client happy, but also keep my artists as authentically them as possible.
I because I own a business and because it's artistic in nature, I end up doing commissions as part of my business for clients that is giving them exactly the thing that they want. Does it have a lot of soul in it for me? No, but it is, as long as the client's happy with it at the end of the day, then I produce something that they really like. Personally, I'm getting kind of burned out on doing a lot of commission stuff. I'm grateful for the clients that I have. I have what I would consider like a star roster list of clients that I'm super fortunate to work with. I mean, some really big deal, in my opinion, some high profile clients that I'm grateful to be working for them and with them. But I desperately want to get back to doing my thing at the same time. And there's not enough time in the day to do both. So I'm trying to find a balance to be able to.
I mean, that's kind of a double-edged
sword.
sword. Sometimes you have to do those gigs to afford yourself the ability to do the things that really inspire you. Successful artist always wants to be a full-time working artist and not working a job or something else outside of their artwork. And it's very possible. Most of the artists that we know are full-time working artists, but I know some amazing, what I call full-time working artists that also that has a job and goes and pays the bills.
Well, and case in point, I actually want to go back to work right now.
Uh-huh.
I didn't sign up as an artist to do the paperwork, right? So I don't care about my taxes. Like I have to do them, but I don't care about taxes or invoicing or any of the administrative shit. I want to make art. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why I started making art. It's turned into a lot of this other stuff that running a business that I'm just burned out on. So, and then it's turned into a lot of commissions and things that my heart and soul and passion is the little light is starting to
it can happen
dwindle on. And so I kind of want to just go back to working a regular job for a little while. And I'm probably going to be soon.
Well, I told you when you told me.
But that way I can come home at night and then kind of say no to some of the stuff that I don't want to be doing.
Yes.
And have the option and the stability to then only focus back what makes me hungry to make art,
For sure. I mean, everyone would love to be in a position to say no to a project or a commission if they want to and only do what they want. And that would be a great position to be in. And when you told me a few weeks ago that you're like, I'm just going to go to job for a while, my response was, go do it, Will, because this is what I foresee. Everybody can get burnt out. You're in charge of everything when you're a business owner, and as an artist, everything's in your hands. So, going and clocking in for a little bit and doing a job can be the breather that sometimes you need to not have full responsibility. I'm creating all the time. I'm doing all the business. I've got to be on. Not only does it pay the bills a little bit, but it's clock in, clock out. It's easier. But I also know you so well that it won't last that long, but it might be the breather that you need to re-energize.
Wait a minute. What do you mean by that?
No, listen, I'm just saying, I just think that, when you get to, whether it's a writer's block, an artist block or whatever, or you're just burnt out or, you're losing your inspiration, your motivation to do what you love. There's nothing wrong with taking a break and a breather. I know you well enough. It won't. That spark is never ever going to die.
No, but I just do need I need change of pace. I mean, I think that's probably why we started the podcast too. Is like it's fresh to me, it's new to me. I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's smart to use for networking.
It's fun. I mean, and one thing
and get to know other people and them get to know me, and me use it for marketing, as well as, you know, being able to help market other people's projects, as well as, you know, being able to get expose myself to a new list of maniac artists and musicians and
We don't
stuff
have
that
enough crazy
I don't
people in
know
our lives
now. So
Well, and I think that I asked you earlier, like, what was the motivation behind the name of the podcast, Clear Coat, and I really liked the way that you explained it. I mean, one thing in the previous podcast I listened to is that, you know, as a listener, you there are things to learn. We go and we listen to a band at a bar. We go and attend an art show. Not everybody knows all the inner works and what goes into putting something like that on, or you know what that you know bar owner goes through to have the bars coming in and out of the country. Like, that was very informative to me to listen to. So I hope that your listeners learn something that they're interested in and they get a little bit of the
well, I
background.
could have called it Arts and Entertainment Podcast, but we call it Arts and Industry Podcast because nobody sees the behind the scenes a lot.
For sure.
And not just behind the scenes like the editor's take of a movie, but like behind the scenes of what it takes from like the ground up to be able to climb the mountain in visual art or
For sure.
music or directing a film or writing or a comic or an actor, or the slumps that they go through, you know, or whatever the peaks and valleys are of somebody's journey. It's kind of nice to get to see that, because that's the authenticity that people look for.
I think
you know?
so. And you know, in the absence of nouveau, you know, of anything that like our community used to have, you know, we can log on and find out what's going on in the city in several different social media platforms and calendars. But you know, the idea that there is some entity out there covering, reviewing shows, you know, theater, visual shows, telling people what's going on around town. You know, there are some things out there that give us that information, but there's never enough. And I think so. Having a podcast right here locally that's speaking to the community, that has the movers and shakers that are doing things, I think people will listen. I think it's interesting, and I think that I think there's definitely a lane for it. So I'm glad you're doing it.
Well, who knows what kind of projects will come out of it for me as well. Like, this may inspire the next whatever it is in my
Very
own
well.
slump of, you know, feeling stuck. Or
It
no,
won't
I don't
last.
feel stuck. I just feel like I'm honored and grateful to have had success in both music and visual art, and by that standard of success, I mean what I feel is achieving the goals that I set out for myself. Right. So if success is you know, $1 million in the bank, you know, that's a goal, that's a level of success. But the experiences that I've achieved, the plans that I had and the goals that I had, coupled with the experiences that I've been able to have on my journey, are the accomplishments that I feel like I want to go to the what's next now.
For sure.
So this is part of
If I
that.
know anything about you, you're always you definitely like to level up every now and then. So it's about time to look for that next level, and I love that about you. And I think it's totally normal for really creative people to get bored easy. I get bored easy. Like, I'm doing something totally different right now, even though I haven't been able to, you know, be out much in the last few months just because of health stuff. But like, you know, I can't sit still. I'm always finding something that gets me going.
Let's talk about what you want to do next, because I'd like to know kind of what's in your head about where you see kind of your consulting company going and what kind of plans you have. Weren't you opening a little boutique shop or something?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, we'll see where it's going to go. I mean, you know, one thing about the art game, art pimping, is, you know, it can be a lot of work, and doesn't always financially pay out, or it's long-term financial. It takes a
Yeah.
long time for it to get there. So I'm always hustling in a couple of different areas all the time. But, you know, I will continue to look for opportunities for, whether it be businesses or new buildings going up that I can work with to convince to outfit in original art instead of reproductions. That will always be something that I'm, egging to do. I do work with a handful of artists one on one with trying to help them build their career. Like, for instance, we have a mutual artist friend out of St. Louis, and he travels around and does art shows. So I'll
Talking
do,
about Dave?
yeah. And so
I just talked to Dave for like an hour the other day.
yeah. So when he's going into his art shows for the season, I'll help him do some PR work around it prior to try to get him some coverage, try to get him some contacts with other galleries in the area. So I have a handful of things I do like that I'll kind of continue to do. But right now, what's kind of inspiring me is, I'm a collector myself. I love treasures and antiques and art. And so,
Oh, I've got some. Remind me, but I've got some stuff I want you to look at.
okay.
When Steve passed away, I
I
ended
was
up with
wondering.
some things of his that you might be interested in. But
I probably will be because I thought about some of his stuff because I have some of Steve's stuff before he
yeah,
passed. But anyway, so right now I'm just really kind of enjoying finding some treasures and doing some reselling of that. I may do some pop ups in the future that involve just some housewares and vintage stuff and some antiques married with some of my art connections. Anytime that I can find an opportunity to put art on the wall and talk about it and present it as available, then that's what I'll do.
well, yeah. So you've been a collector, not just for your own collection, but also as an investor too. I mean,
Yeah.
you've bought some of my pieces, which has kind of gotten me through some tough times, and I super appreciate that. But also, you could potentially resell that stuff, and
Well, I did an investment with you that pretty much turned around and paid for itself almost right
that's
away.
true. It did.
You did a bronze piece. Can we talk about this?
Yeah,
We did a bronze piece
and I needed the money
that's
to
similar to
fund
the
it.
piece that you're going to deliver to my house after this. However, mine's not bronze, but you did a bronze piece, or you wanted to do a bronze piece, and I wanted a piece of that you had, and I think we worked something out where I purchased the piece, and some of the money went towards you being able to
Fund it. Yeah.
fund the bronze. And the deal was that I would get a percentage of the bronze when it sold. So what it did for me was I got a piece I wanted.
I paid you, right?
Yeah, I got paid,
Okay.
but not before you asked me if I wanted to reinvest it, which was really good.
Did you?
You're always willing to.
Did you
know that-
reinvest it?
I can't remember what we ended up doing.
I don't remember either.
I probably did reinvest it. So maybe I didn't get paid. Anyway, but the point is the way it worked was we worked out a deal. I bought a piece. You took a portion of that money and was able to make the bronze. Then the bronze was made. It went into a gallery in New York, I think.
Chicago.
That bronze sold, and then I got my percentage back because I was like an investor in your being able to make that bronze.
Yeah.
And I'm not made of money. This was very manageable funds for us to exchange between each other.
Yep.
And it almost immediately paid for itself. That bronze piece sold very quickly after it landed on the floor.
It did, and
I
it
knew
was
it
totally worth it. And I'd do it again and again and again and again.
Yep.
And repeat that process. But you're a hustler in that way. So am I. I think you have to be as an artist or as just in the game in general. I think you have to have your hustle boots on all the
For
time
sure.
and be looking for opportunities. And I know a lot of other artists that are collectors as well. And whether or not they're doing it to buy and sell or just because they like to collect other people's work. But I've traded work with other artists that I see as an investment, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna probably sell the stuff that I've traded off to somebody else because then it becomes sentimental to me, and I end up
Yeah, my art's pretty personal typically when
collecting
I purchase it. But like this piece I purchased from you, it was the second sculpture I had purchased, and it immediately went into a gallery. And I was willing, if it sold, I was willing to sell it because it would have been a profit, from what because we had agreed that it was going to sell more than
it's the nature of the
original
hustle.
price. Yeah. And that's the only way I was going to do it. Yeah, I'll send my piece. I paid for it, but it's got to sell for.
But you know what? Those times where you have given me a couple $1,000 for a piece or whatever it is have been very pivotal moments to me where it's like, look, it's not that much money to you or to somebody else or whoever, but to me right now, this is going to allow me to make the next move that I need to make, or it's going to, you know, just be an investment towards something else that, you know, for the most part has panned out and worked out in that way.
Sure.
So while it may not be a lot to you, it's like everything to an artist sometimes when they're, you know, living on that.
And it is
thing
to the
that they're doing.
collector, because every time I look at my piece every day, you know,
Still a
and
dope piece.
everybody that comes in, and my house, you know, talks about. I mean, it's something that brings me joy.
Yeah, you got one of the chimp sculptures,
I have Albert
and only did
too.
2 of them, and the first one I did went to Spain and it came back broke as shit, but that's another story. And but I may revive it or do another one completely. But you have the only other one that I did, and then I did a series of 10 of those astronauts with the balloon.
That's the one I'm getting today.
And that's the one that Roddy brought back from New York today, and that one's out in my car. So I'll get that to you, and I won't keep. What time you got, Perry?
We're up to an hour and 16.
Okay, well we'll wrap it up. But one other thing I want to ask you though is corporate acquisitions.
Yeah.
Have you figured out how you're going to sell my art in a corporate acquisition? Because I need to sell
you
like
love that term. You
about
love that term.
about 50 pieces to one person.
Yeah, well, obviously I haven't figured it out, or we would have already moved that inventory. But those are always the good ones. And you know, a corporation can decide to acquire artwork from numerous different artists. Rarely do they buy from one, but it's possible.
You know who does it? J.P. Morgan has, I think, probably the biggest art collection. I'm serious.
They
And
do.
they
They
put it
do.
away in like vaults or whatever. But
I know.
they
They buy
have
art for
probably
investment,
the
yeah.
biggest acquisition of art, and obviously high dollar, high value stuff. But that's one of the lessons that I learned from a guy about those corporate acquisitions, because
Yeah.
you can sell 20, 30 pieces to one corporation, whatever, a lawyer's office, and they buy a ton of your stuff and they hang it on their walls. That's a great avenue to get into. I need to figure out.
Yeah, I wish there were a ton of those for all the artists, but
Get on
and
it.
I'm sure they do exist more. So, and you know that's something that I look forward to learning too. I mean, bring on more people who are in a game doing like I'm doing. I can't wait to learn from them. You know, I'm only a few years into this. I'm a fairly new little vampire, and so I always look for people who have been doing this for a long time.
Well, I think
knowledge
the
game.
business of art, you and I sort of have been kind of neck and neck on our way up in,
Sure.
in this. And we've done a lot of it together, and we've both been a soundboard for each other on ideas and new opportunities and that sort of thing. And we've had a partnership in that way and sticking together. And, you know, so to that, I say, go sell some damn art, Mary.
Appreciate you.
Mary Morgan.
I've got to go sell
on the Clear
some
Coat
art.
podcast. She's got to
pimp
go
some
pimp
art.
some art.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Anytime.
And Perry Stevens
Perry.
producing over here for
Thanks for
us.
having us.
We'll catch you guys next time. Season episode 2, Mary Morgan.